Welcome to the Yoshi's Word, a podcast that most people who followed the originally named Yoshi Sword 02 channel probably expected to happen. This podcast series will be about Dungeons & Dragons, and more specifically, our current Homebrew Campaign. It'll be both an entertainment podcast to see how we play Dungeons & Dragons, and also potentially educational, both for us and the listeners. We're still new to D&D, and would love input on our game as well. My name's Jay. Some of you may know me as Yoshi Sword 02, Knight J, or currently, Jay's voicing. Jay works though. With me is my best friend who's been with me throughout the whole entire YouTube journey, Neil.
Hello. I'm Neil. As Jay has said, I have been there for our Machinima, our Let's Play channel. Unfortunately, I'm not getting into voice acting as my friend here is, but I support him 100% and I am glad to be a part of this podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm good, dude. How have you been?
I've been doing excellently. You know, it's always nice to just sit down and talk, especially random stuff with you like D&D.
Yeah, definitely. And the nice thing is we're not playing a video game to kind of distract might not be the correct word, but kind of like to throw all of our words at that screen. Now we're kind of throwing it at each other here, so it's a nice little discussion.
Definitely.
So, like I was saying, this will be about how we got started in D&D and how our current campaign is going so far. So, are you ready to go, Neil?
Let's do this.
So, to even start discussing our current campaign, I think we need to go to the start. It was January 15, 2017 when we first got started. Prior to that, I found the Dungeons & Dragons starter set at a Go Calendars. One of our players and I were discussing D&D for a bit, and I decided to take the plunge with it being 50% off. From then, we played through Lost Mines of Phandelver, finished that, and then I built a custom campaign that followed the events that were created after Lost Mines into what we call, or at least what I call, Heroes of Zelani, as that was a place I created, and then into our third campaign. So right now, I think it'd be fun to kind of discuss Lost Mines of Phandelver, as some people who might be listening to this might be... I've seen so many posts online where it's like, starter set, should I buy it? So now you're going to hear kind of a first-time DM, because that was my first time ever, and Neil's... would you say it's your first time playing?
Oh, yeah, I would say it's our first time playing. And can we go back even farther in the past just for a brief moment?
Yeah, go for it, man.
I remember my cousin handed me, I don't know if you remember the cover of it, but the third edition, or maybe
edition,
no.
Yeah.
No, actually, no, it said Advanced Dungeons & Dragons on it. Which one was that one?
You know what? I'm going to hold my tongue because I don't want to be wrong about that and have a bunch of people yell at me.
Yeah, someone in the comments can tell us what it is. But anyways, it was the one where there was a barbarian and I think a dwarf and someone else, and they were taking down a door. But I had that, and we were 10 at the time or something, and we would make characters. We never figured out how to play the game. We kind of just did our own thing, making characters and just joking around. But we never truly played D&D up until this point in our life.
Sure. And you're talking about me, right? You're talking about when you would make characters for me and just run random stuff. And yeah, that's true. I guess we did technically play D&D at that point.
We knew of it, if anything.
Right. Yeah. Right. You were my DM, and now I'm returning the favors and trying to be your DM.
Tenfold. So what swayed you into getting it? You were in the store, you saw the starter set. What enticed you other than just thinking about it to pick it up and become a DM?
Yeah, the DM part was scary, for sure. I think mostly just talking a lot about it with Kristen, who's one of our players. I don't remember kind of why I think we were joking about it, or oh, maybe one of these days we'll do it. But then I think I also was getting into Critical Role, so I was like, oh, Critical Role, okay, Dungeons & Dragons, what do they do? Oh, cool, voice actors. It was a good way to rope me in. And then actually another big part, now that I think about it, was what is that board game called? Oh, the one with the rats.
Oh yeah, that's right. Mice and Mystics.
Yeah, Mice. I think you're right. Mice and Mystics sounds about right.
Yeah, we were playing that.
My laptop or my keyboard. Hold on, Mice and Mystics, right? Mice and Mystics board game.
We still haven't finished that. Yeah,
we definitely have not finished that. But Yeah, I mean, if anything, I am, and I still am into board games, and I was slowly. I guess the transition period goes board games, into Betrayal on House on Hill, because Betrayal is somewhat D&D, but it still is a board game. You kind of collect things, you get raise your stats, kind of thing. And then it slowly went into Mice and Mystics, which is a little bit more of a, I think it was called an RPG in a box. And then the starter set was half off. It was $10 to try this weird tabletop RPG game, and I was like, "Let's freaking do it!"
Yeah, very cool. So, RPG in a box, kids. That's the gateway drug to where we're at.
I
So,
truly believe that. Yeah, I mean, if you're nervous about, honestly, I feel the starter set is even like you could skip the RPG in the box because the starter set is really just all the basic rules, a set of dice, and Lost
yes,
Mines of Fandolfur,
right.
which Lost Mines of Fandolfur, I believe, is a very fantastic adventure. Um, it also comes with.
It, it was
Go
very
ahead.
fun. Oh, I was just gonna say it was a very fun introductory story.
Right, and it came with starter characters, which we decided to use because I don't know if I told you guys to use them or if we kind of all agreed to use them. I don't remember how that went.
I don't know. I just remember we all decided to go with Hispanic names for some reason.
Yeah, I definitely remember that. um, but yeah, overall, I mean, what do you remember of Lost Mines?
I remember that it was just us testing the waters, kind of like testing the limits of like what is D&D? What can we do? What can we not do? It was essentially like seeing a jungle gym for the first time and seeing like, okay, I
True.
can do whatever I want. And
Right.
we were I think we still do it now, but I think every time we did an action in first campaign, it was always in question form. Can
Oh,
I
definitely.
shoot from over this wall? Can I pick this person's pocket? And it was like, yeah, just really fun, just trying to get into that mode. And I think in terms of role playing, we were still, I think, more us than our characters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that first campaign was more so just like actions and doing things as
Right.
opposed to acting as our characters. Because I know my character, the human fighter noble Pedro, he's essentially a rich boy, and I kind of played him arrogantly, like because I remember I said a line where like, "Oh, I'm not gonna sleep there because it's dirty. It's a dirty tavern or something like that."
Yeah, which is true. You definitely played the noble very well. Which, to your point, you still played as yourself because I think there was a point where you did end up getting what the pee blanket.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
It
Just
became
doing
this kind
stupid
of
things like that. Yeah.
right, which I think kind of what sold us on D&D, right? Like it was like, oh, there are these, there are these backgrounds and classes, and do we have to play to them in alignment? And it's like kind of, but also like, and the good thing is we're all close friends. So like me being the DM, it's like I'm not gonna like be upset that like, oh, everyone is not playing by the pure. It's like no, it's fun. We're spending time on a
Mhm.
Saturday just kind of doing whatever here. Um, of course, I was still sweating because I was like, I don't know the rules. I don't know if you could do that. I don't roll dice. I guess that's how it works. But yeah, I mean, Lost Mines was a fantastic introduction. That we had like a lot of. I mean, we could have a whole podcast about this. So
I
I
know.
think if you guys are listening and you want to hear kind of our actual journey through Lost Mines, let us know because we can start a whole nother kind of series on that. I definitely wanted to do this as our current campaign because one, we're more veteran. It's only been 2 years, but we're a little more veteran, so we know what we're doing. We have more that we can talk about, like stuff that we're learning from it overall, as like stuff we've seen, stuff that's kind of related to. Hey, we have a group of 7 players. How does that work? Is it easy on the DM? Is it boring on the players? Blah blah blah, stuff like that. So we'll table the Lost Mines stuff for now. Um, Long story short, with Lost Mines, we ended up finishing that. I homebrewed some stuff and I created our second campaign that I've dubbed Heroes of Zelani, which was a very devil story. Devil. Let me ask you what you remember from it, I guess, Neil.
I remember, and I wrote this down in my notes, but
Mm.
it was it was like Digimon Season 2, where
Digimon Season 2. Okay.
yeah, it picks up like right where the first campaign ended, like because you brought back my character Pedro, you brought back everyone's player character,
Right.
the settings, the events that happened, and it the world is it just still amazes me how you're able to make the world just live and breathe. Campaign 2 just jumped into, like I said, like Digimon Season 2. It was the same atmosphere, the same settings, events just happened, but we were all different characters. And it was a very interesting twist because campaign 1, it was just like, it was a quest, your standard quest. Let's go find this, let's fight that.
Right.
Here, the story got more serious. We were still joking around, still being playful.
Of
I
course.
felt like with the introduction of the demons, that the fate of the world, I would say the world, right? Fate of the world is
ideally, yeah, it was supposed to be like, that overall, like, oh boy, come on, heroes, where are the heroes at?
Exactly.
So
yeah, it was a very well written campaign that you seamlessly transitioned first.
cool. Yeah, I mean, I remember writing a lot for Heroes of Zelani. Heroes of Zelani was interesting because it was a mix of writing something that was kind of still the Lost Mines module, but I was trying to do more of an MMORPG setting. So for those of you, obviously you're not familiar with what I created, but I basically created a kind of a central, not a central hub, but no, I did make a central hub. That was the town of Zelani, and each time players would go to a town, that town had like 3 or 4 quests that they can do, along with what you could kind of say is more of a boss at the end of it, right? Because you guys had the 3 quests, and then like a devil appeared, and it was like, oh, we got to fight the devil. They had to hunt like 5 devils. So that kind of what kind of was created out of Heroes of Zelani, which again, I think we'll table that. If people are curious of those adventures, we can go back. And the biggest reason why I'm not having us divulge in it is because these aren't fresh in our minds. We definitely would have to kind of go back.
But I wanted to really like reminisce about these 2 campaigns.
Like do a whole thing. Yeah, no.
Because like if I could speak of my character in campaign 2, Eladir, he was man, I could talk about his character creation all day,
right?
Personality, but yeah, it was just really fun playing. Like, because like you said, in campaign 1, we were basically just doing some pre-made character. To have a campaign and to make my first character and take ownership of who he is, what he does, it was really.
Yeah, and I mean, so we'll definitely delve into all that stuff. We can definitely create other topics at hands other podcasts at hands that we can talk about that stuff. It's really up to you guys. If you're curious about character creation, let us know, all that good stuff. This one's kind of going to be a little bit all over the place because we're still trying to figure out what we're doing for this podcast series.
So much to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. There's so much to talk about, and me and Neil at least can easily talk for hours, which we've done many times.
Yeah.
So a lot of content there if you're curious of our D&D, 2 years worth of D&D journeys. But our focus is the here and now. It is fresh in our memory. And so from Lost Mines of Phandelver to our second homebrew campaign, that's kind of how we got here now, which is our third campaign, which I've dubbed the Blood War Boils. When I was creating this third campaign, Mordenkainen's Tome released at the perfect time where it had the Blood War, the war between the devils and demons. And so I grabbed that immediately and said, I need this to write my third campaign because Lost Mines brought us in. Heroes of Zelani essentially brought in the concept of devils, and Campaign 3, the Blood War Boils, and the fact that Mordenkainen's came out with the whole concept of the Blood War, it created this perfect amalgamation of a potential war coming to the material plane that I wanted to create for my players. So, let's definitely dive into Campaign 3. So let's discuss our current campaign, or rather, kind of what it's about. I will get a little bit controversial, and by that I mean I feel like people who are really veterans to this game will be like, that's not how the Blood War works. Well, too bad. This is a homebrew.
I don't even know
Go ahead.
The Blood War is, man. Like, yeah. And then you also mentioned Mordenkainen's Tome. Could you like briefly explain what that is?
Mordenkainen's Tome is a D&D supplement that came out with more information about devils and demons. From what I understand, Mordenkainen is a character in the D&D world who has the ability to travel among multiverses or even the realms itself. I think it's
Also, he's
realms and
like Doctor
multiverses.
Strange.
It really is. If you look at the cover next time, I'll show you the cover. I'll send you the cover. You'll be like, that kind of looks Doctor Strange. I don't know if he's good or bad. I think he's supposed to keep balance. And now we're getting controversial because people are gonna be like, you're so wrong. This is how I understand it. Mordenkainen goes to different realms, keeps the balance in all those realms. That's what I understand so far. If I'm completely wrong on that, oh, please correct me in the comments. I would love to know the canon of all this world. So, but the book itself has it has monsters, and then it also has how certain races are, and then specifically like devils and demons and all that stuff. And it does explain the Blood War, which is, again,
right.
It was perfect to what I was trying to write.
Now, should you be divulging what the Blood War is? Because as a player character in your campaign, we haven't really scratched the surface on what's really going on.
Right.
So will this be spoiling what you have
Not
planned?
really. I guess you could think of it as like a hint coin. I won't say exactly what it is. The Blood War itself, I think, is an overall Dungeons and Dragons concept. I'm twisting it to make it my own version.
Okay.
So let me explain the Blood War first. What I understand about the Blood War is that it's basically devils and demons like have their own ongoing war between each other in the Nine Hells, right? How that works in our campaign might not be how you read about it. If you search it up and you read something, I may have twisted it completely because I read what it was, and then of course my brain decided to be like, well, I'm gonna do what I can with this, and it could be something completely different. But even then, it's actually different because of it's like the third episode to our trilogy, right? Heroes of Zelani, we had a villain known as Darkstaff, who actually that's even from Lost Mines of Phandelver.
Yes, right.
Glassstaff became Darkstaff. Blah blah blah. Crappy villain. It's what it is. But his whole thing was he started summoning devils into the material plane. So I'm sure this is something, a comic book or a movie that's happened like this, but because cause and effect, he made tears into the material plane, summoning devils unnecessarily. At least in our world, it's not something that's normal, or at least I never created it as normal. So that caused ripple effects. So now demons, and you and I have actually spoken about this, and this is something that I think you guys will slowly learn. Devils and demons are actually different.
Yeah, that was like the one thing I asked when we were talking after, I think last session. I was like, wait, I thought devils and demons were the same thing.
Right, and that's something I want them to learn, folks. It's a very interesting thing that I won't divulge in this, but for those who kind of understand what the Blood War is, that's where we are in our current campaign. It pretty much takes that idea, takes what we've done prior, and kind of links them together to cause this new, bigger issue, which is pretty interesting. To your point of what were just talking about, Heroes of Zelani was supposed to be like, oh god, the world's gonna end. Well, if this one's a bigger issue, kind of like, what happens now? So my question to you, Neil, for this little part of our segment here, what do you think of Campaign 3 before we even because for those who are wondering, we're 5 sessions in, but what did you think before we even started playing? Like, what were you expecting?
I know you were gonna, because you were working on this for a long time, and even while we were still playing Campaign 2, you're like, I can't wait to do the third one. So I was expecting something big and grandiose. What you're saying right now, and what we've gone through right now, well, actually, let me roll that back. Mm-hmm. Through 5 sessions right now, I don't think we are really getting too deep into your main plot, your main campaign. Mm-hmm. But what we've just been discussing for this podcast, yeah, it sounds like something like huge is gonna happen. But going into it, I don't know. I just thought something big's gonna happen. I don't know what scale, but you're gonna reveal it slowly. And to be honest, I still don't know how big this is gonna get. So I had no expectations. I didn't know what you were bringing back. I didn't know about demons. I didn't know if you're gonna make us fight zombies, but yeah, just going into it, I had no expectation.
And that's the exciting part. So far, we've had, like we've been saying, we've had 5 sessions, about 6 hours in length, you would say, yeah?
Yeah, I'd say so.
So let's get into the meat of our podcast, I think, right? We'll start talking about each session, how we feel, how kind of my perspective on that session, Neil, your perspective on that session, and we can all kind of learn together and discuss what our campaign is, if it sounds ridiculous to you guys, or if
then
you're just
shut
trying
this
to
off.
click off.
Yeah.
No, but if you're learning, like, what do other people do? Well, here's a little insight on our game. So I think we can totally get started on session 1, The Devil's Request. Session 1, The Devil's Request. Our story starts off in Zelani. Yes, I love my town that I've created. It's a home to Aarakocras, and it's located within the tops of a forest, similar to the Freedom Fighters' home from Avatar: The Last Airbender, or you could think of the Rudos from Zelda: Breath of the Wild. The session focused on a murder that was learned to be caused by a demon-possessed dragonborn. The party helped out immediately once the demon attacked. They were all there for their own reason, and the elder of the town pointed them all eastward to a province known as Azuma for their personal stories and quests. An imp also requested their aid in the Blood War, which they're not entirely sure what that is and what's happening, but she disappeared immediately because her contract was completed. This remained a mystery, and the party began their journey eastward. So let's kind of roll back a little bit here. I feel like I had a pretty hard time gathering you guys together, right?
Yes, because first of all, we were in a huge, Zelani is a big town. At least in my mind,
big.
It's fairly big. And I remember when you showed me the board, which, by the way, for people who don't know, when we do heavy sessions, I am remote. I am playing the D&D virtually.
Digitally, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not physically there, but luckily my friends have accommodated me, and they set up a camera, and I can see the board, all the miniatures. And when you opened up Campaign 3, and literally just the map was flooded with minis, and wow, this is huge.
Yeah, town. And you were there physically too on our first session, right? You were visiting in town at the time.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Weren't you? Yeah, so you were able to actually be there for that. Yeah, I think of a board. I think there were, or the map rather, and I think there were at least 20 miniatures placed down on there.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Which is new to us. To other people, that might be, oh, that's nothing, but definitely new to us. There was a lot of miniatures on that board.
Right. And so with the fact that the town was so big, the fact that we started off separately and we were all just doing our own thing, I felt like it was pretty hard to corral us until you made the big bang, so to speak, happen.
Right. Which was the idea, right? That was supposed to be if you guys are here to help, here's something you can do, kind of adventure to it. So you guys did that. You kind of solved the mystery. I feel like you guys somewhat became close a little bit, and then since it was just convenient, you guys all decided to move eastward. How was that kind of whole journey for you?
Eastward, it was still trying to feel each other out. I felt like there wasn't a lot of interaction between us, and we were all like trying to be our characters, but we weren't really. We were like interacting with you and the world, but to me personally, I didn't think we were trying to getting to know each other. Interacting with each other as much as we should have in that first. Because I mean, it's the party coming together, and like we gotta form some camaraderie, else it's gonna be a really, really awkward beginning, which it was. Right,
it was a super awkward beginning. I guess we could talk about it now. You guys kind of all, which first off, as much of as it seemed like a complaint to me, it's fantastic how well you guys roleplay, but yeah, I feel like everyone was a little too tied to their alignment or something. Something was like way too tied down that was like, I will never work with these people. It's only convenient. Also, because in the real world we're sitting together.
Hmm.
Like, and it was very strange to see that happen because to what you're saying, there really was no character interaction. It's you interacted with the world, you interacted with what I threw in front of you, and then you were like, let's just continue moving eastward to what I personally want at that time, which is an interesting way to kind of start off a campaign from what we've done the past two campaigns. So you guys, let's see. Oh well, and you guys met what seems to be, how do I say this, a pretty big villain, the Demon Prince. Do you even remember him, or the Dark Prince?
Like vaguely, I just know
Vaguely.
him and his minions came out, and then we were just fighting them off.
Okay. Well, how do you remember like how he looked? Because I tried my best to make it seem just like a visage. It's not like it wasn't him, but maybe I don't know. Maybe you'd imagine something different.
I can't remember. Could you like describe him right now?
I can describe what I said. I believe I'm pretty sure I made him out to be kind of like this shadowy visage, and the only thing that you saw was the blade. And when he attacked with it, the blade would start to reveal itself as this kind of interlaced blade that would cut into people. And I remember that doing a lot of damage, which I feel like you guys were somewhat ready for, but also weren't expecting so early on.
No, not at all.
But you guys were able to handle it, which was great. So after that, you guys started moving eastward, and you stopped by a place called Riviere Orchard, and you ran into the Zanko gang, which is a gang that basically just terrorizes and harasses people on this highway heading to Azuma. Do you remember, how did you feel about the Zanko gang and all that stuff?
I think
that whole interaction.
They were, to me, initially, they were just random enemies. Like, oh, this is your classic thief or ruffian, like the highwayman that goes, oh, your money or your life, that type of thing. So I didn't really think too much of them.
That's interesting, actually.
Yeah, but I guess in the world they're just like this. I wouldn't say like a big syndicated organization. Like they're not the mafia or anything, but they do have quite a presence. I would say in a vast amount of area in the region. I would say. Right.
Which kind of begs the question, like, did I not make them threatening at all that you're just like, whatever?
They were the bad guy of the month to me. They weren't they weren't really imposing their will, and I think, I don't know, just as a veteran player, not just for D&D, but just like playing video games or something. It's like, oh yeah, these are just like this is a stage one. This is
right.
The generic gang member. I'll dispatch of him, and then we'll move on to bigger things. So
that's hilarious. So I want to talk about a specific character, probably your favorite character. I don't know if it's your favorite character, but our good friend Droop, Mr. Droopy.
Yes,
Droopy
he's
Wiener,
a callback from campaign 2.
Well, campaign 1 even.
Campaign 1, right?
Yeah, Droop. So for those who either have played Lost Mines or is looking into Lost Mines, there is a goblin NPC that the party can decide what to do with them, and I believe the book actually names him Droop. And when I said that, of course, someone guys immediately go
Droopy.
Yes, someone.
Yeah, Droopy Wiener.
Yeah, and well, I'll let you guys figure out why he kind of takes the name, but he ended up getting named Droopy Wiener, and that is definitely the most fun character to kind of bring back because I personally like how he's evolved. He went from being a slave to some bugbears to kind of the party's like joke named character, goblin friend, and now he owns a farm and he makes the wiener berries.
And did you like, as you described him as the campaigns go, don't you like age him and like he has a beard now or something like that?
I did age him. I don't know how old, like how quickly goblins age, but it has been 15 years from our in-game universe. So yeah, he'd be a little bit older. I gave him some gray hair.
Yeah, so. That's it. And that was a nice touch on your part.
Yeah, he's like an old farmer man who's just happy he's alive now. Like he's not being spat on by bugbears. So how did that? So, oh, you know what we probably should actually really talk about? I'm sorry, everyone. Neil, who's your character, man? Who do you play?
Oh, right. In this
That's pretty
campaign,
important.
in campaign 3, I play a human fighter named Falian. He is like my previous character that was briefly talked about in campaign 2, Eladir. He's a character that I liked because I basically, when I make characters, it's an amalgamation of, uh, characters from books, from video games. So I think I described to you, he's like an amalgamation of like King Arthur, uh, Russell Crowe's character from Gladiator, all sorts of stuff. And yeah, he is a fighter, and specifically a samurai fighter from Xanathar, is correct?
I believe Xanathar.
Yes.
You're using Xanathar.
So I am going crazy with this. I'm pulling out all the stops. Oh, and quick thing. So if I could just briefly touch base on character.
Yeah, of course.
I wasn't even supposed to use him for this one, if you recall. Like I made 4 characters.
Right.
And this guy, this guy is not even Falian. He's John Cena technically.
That's what he's slowly becoming somehow.
Yeah, but slowly he's become a really really cool character to play, and yeah, I've grown to like him, and I'm glad I stuck with him.
So let's step back real quick. So you said how you felt. How did Falian feel, like overall, like from entering Zelani, talking to the Elder, being told to go to Azuma, and then just traveling with this group of like 6 people?
So Falian's character initially, I can't be around the bush. He was just a dick to everybody. So I was like, oh, I really don't care. I'm here on my personal quest to avenge my best friend's death, and I don't have time for demons, for traveling, saving the world. I don't have time for that. I only have time for one person only, and that's me. But that's how he was initially, and he was just essentially along for the ride until I want to say 3rd or 4th session, when we decided to give him a change of heart.
Which was definitely a discussion between both of us, because from the DM side, it was very hard to run Falian a little bit, just because of the concept of, like you said, he doesn't care to do anything campaign-wise. So out of game, it's like, what do I do with you?
Yeah.
The character was interesting, for sure. It was definitely different than what we were used to, which I think we're slowly striving towards, is just like, new campaign, let's try some new stuff.
Yes, and then we also found out that new stuff, and it didn't work. So it was like, okay, let's try something different.
Right. Well, hey, that's 3 years under our belts.
Yeah, I know.
I can only imagine, you DMs and players out there with like 15 years, let us know what you guys run into. That's like, oh, that doesn't work for our table. But yeah, I mean, it was just an interesting so far, and up until then, it wasn't even just you. It was just the whole party all their focuses were on their own stuff. So I mean, it was a little bit concerning from my end of just kind of like, how do I bring you guys together? Because nobody cared, which we can get to once we start talking about a session that kind of, I wouldn't use the word fix, but it did bring people together.
Right.
It finally kind of got that ball rolling for us. So for session 1, you guys finally ended up at this village called Chu Village, and you saw that it was on fire. So we can start talking about our session 2, since we ended session 1 at that fire, where everyone seemed to, which was nice, everyone, the party seemed concerned, which kind of gave me like, oh, good, thank God you guys aren't leaving. So we'll talk about session 2 in a bit. So Neil made a good point. We didn't even introduce the party, so you guys are probably like, well, who the hell is the party? So let's talk about that. We have 7 players, is that right? 7? Oh,
that's
God.
right.
How do I
7 warriors of light.
We won't get into that, but that can also be a different podcast.
Yeah.
So we have our campaign 3 party consists of 7 players, 7 people. And I'll just read off the list here. So our first one is a tiefling warlock named Novell. We have a barbarian turtle named Genbu, a conquest paladin human named Kagatsuchi, a human fighter whose focus is sharpshooting and kind of bows and arrows, bows, arrows, and crossbows. I think he uses a crossbow though, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, so
he doesn't have a gun. That's all I know.
He doesn't have a gun, not anymore.
Not anymore.
But yeah, that character is named Darian. And then we have a halfling sun soul monk named Roscoe, who I'm gonna quickly just, well, you know what, never mind. I'll save that for another time. We have a cleric Loxodon named Mzula. Mzula. And then we have you, Phalion. So that is our party. I apologize for not introducing them before session 1. But even then, we're slowly... It kind of goes with our sessions as well, because Roscoe, our player who plays Roscoe, lives about an hour out, so he makes his way when he can, and so his character is kind of in and out when he can. So his character actually didn't even get introduced until this one? No, the next one, right? Session 3, right?
So and like how I jokingly said, he's like the Green Ranger of our party. He just shows up later. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I basically, my excuses are just, he just ran off because he's a sneaky guy and he just disappears. So, but that is our traveling party. So, again, my apologies. We're still getting used to this podcasting thing and making sure it's all organized and nice for you guys. But I think with that, we can start discussing session 2, unless you think I'm missing another thing, Neil.
I just want to reference that my character apparently doesn't call all his party members by their actual names. Because in my head, it's Squirrel Girl, Sword Boy, Turtle Man, Elephant Lady, Fisticuffs, Snipes, and yeah, that's who they are to me.
Bonus points if you can figure out whose nickname belongs to who.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I heard one that might throw people off, but
oh, which one would that be?
Squirrel Girl, because we didn't explain why they're Squirrel
Girl.
Oh
yeah, because I think she has a squirrel as a familiar.
Well, now you just told everyone. Now it's gonna be easier for them to figure it out. No, it's all good. All right, yeah. So it was funny because we were just discussing this, and Neil's just like, I don't know any of their names. But it's cool. I got it. I'm the DM. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, there you go.
So let's dive into session 2. You guys, at the end of session 1, you guys find this village, the Chew village, caught on fire. And to my surprise, as the DM, you guys actually decide to help them. I wasn't sure what you guys were going to do, but the way the game was going, I thought you guys were just going to be like, not our problem, and just continue eastward.
I think just as human beings, we wouldn't just see a village on fire and just drive past it.
Not all of you are human beings. I'm totally joking. No, I get what you're saying. No, for sure. So luckily, both for the game and just for my sanity of what are they doing next, you guys did end up going to help this Chew village, which led you down, I guess, the quest you can call the Zanko gang quest, that gang that appeared last session, who was essentially terrorizing the orchard, and you guys discovered that they're also harassing this town. Missoula, I think specifically, was the one to kind of decide, let's help them. From my side of the table, it felt like a lot of you guys were really and again, you guys are fantastically role-playing your characters. None of you seem interested at all. So what how did you feel from, as a player, Neil? How was that? Because from my side, it definitely felt like most of you guys were just like, sure. All right.
Yeah, because especially for my character, like I said, he really just wanted to do his own thing. But on the flip side is the party could actually help me get to where I need to be get me to my goal. Mm-hmm. So he was kind of just reluctantly, fine,
I'll just do it.
Thing. The thing though, I didn't feel from the other party members that they were reluctant as well, or that they didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we all just jumped on it because, like I said, who would ignore a whole village on fire?
Right.
So, and obviously Missoula was the one who spoke up, and then we all just followed.
I think
anything of that.
I feel if I'm remembering correctly, I think there was even discussion between a couple of you guys that were just like, they're not our problem. We got to deliver. The biggest thing. Oh, I guess I left that detail out. The biggest thing was Valari, the elder of Zelani, she gave you guys kind of a quest to go to the king of the city of Dorakuma, which is the big city in Azuma. Sorry,
Right.
guys, if you're getting confused. There's a lot of like context here. Um, so I think there was a discussion between a couple of the party members that was just like, we have this quest that we already need to do. Can't we like kind of do this later? Not their exact words, but I think that's what I overheard, which is I think why I'm saying like, yeah, I felt like some people were reluctant because the quote unquote main quest was kind of in front of you guys already. So I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe you didn't remember. I don't know. Do you not remember that? Maybe you didn't remember that.
Oh, I don't recall that part. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's all good. So that I think that's something I remember, which is why I have it in the back of my mind that it's like, yeah, you guys were a little bit unsure of what you should have done at that point. But you guys did decide to help, which was great. You guys met the little town of Chu Village. How did you like that, by the way? Because for a little bit more context as to why I'm asking this question, from campaign 1 was characters created by Wizards of the Coast. Campaign 2 was characters created by me, but also they were kind of parodies of characters that already existed. And campaign 3 kind of has these actual characters who have purpose and have reason, and they're all kind of these people in my brain. So I'm just curious, like, kind of Neil's reaction to both Asphalion and yourself, kind of this little tiny town that you've first been introduced to, because Zelani is from a past game, so this one is the actual
Right.
like first town that you guys actually walked into. That's like, all right, what did Jay kind of create?
I pictured, and please correct me if
Sure.
I'm getting the wrong impression, but I pictured I want to say Oriental-esque town. I don't know why, filled with mice,
Filled with mice.
like mice characters. I don't know what race these the villagers are, but because I think like Chew, like, isn't like that? There's like a Yu-Gi-Oh card where it's like there's a Chew mouse fighter.
I can see
Yeah,
that. That would make sense.
yeah. So I think that was my first impression of that.
Interesting. And you guys did run into a furbolg, I think, as your first kind of
Okay.
creature there, or species there. So they're not mice, but a furbolg is a little bit different than, a group of humans. There were a couple of races that were there, but that's interesting that you imagine mice, which also makes sense though, because I named it Chu Village.
Oriental mice.
Oriental mice. Sorry, Oriental mice.
Yeah.
But that's
And like I said, is that what you kind of like? How about in your head, like, how would you describe
I mean,
what
like
the aesthetic is?
the aesthetic as the area, it's just probably more of a I don't know if British is the right word, UK European kind of like cottage area.
I was way off. I was on the
but
other side of the friggin'
but I mean,
world,
that's
man.
the beauty of D&D, right? It's like, hey,
Yeah,
if
it's
that's
like-
what you thought, that's totally fine, man. Like, it still got the point across that, like, hey, this is the world you're set in. So no, that's amazing. Yeah, no, I technically, and that's the other thing, I don't really, I want to get better at kind of explaining how these places look and detailing exactly how they look, but that's experience and time that I'm still working on for sure. So, but that's cool.
Yeah, but I will say though, man, like, in general, like, from starting to now, you've always described things really well. I think I'm just interpreting them in a weird way.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean,
But no, there's a lot of flavor to all your places, all your
cool.
characters.
Which is, yeah, that's great. So that's the perfect transition kind of into the next part of this session. You guys actually went into your first dungeon this session too. So what do you remember from the dungeon? I'm not gonna explain each room for you guys who are listening. That just it's not worth all that information. Excuse me. Ooh. Long story short, you guys learned about the Zanko gang and you found their hideout and you decided, hey, we gotta beat some people up. What do you remember from that?
I remember a kind of like in my head, like a very dark, like wooden rickety type dungeon. We're just going through and smacking the Zonko gang left and right. I will say though, we weren't very what's the word I'm trying to look for? We really didn't show any. Well, I was gonna say we really didn't show any restraint when we were trying to, after we like landed finishing blows on people. Some of us kind of took it a bit too far. Some of us didn't. So yeah, I remember that. I remember one of the things I remember was like there's like a tavern-esque room, and then there were like people, like the whole gang was there essentially.
Right.
Some people chained to the table to somewhere.
Yes. So that scene, there was the Zanko gang were in there, and there were two tieflings who were captured by them, who were essentially forced to work as barkeeps. Barkeeps?
Right.
What's the word I'm like? Is that right? Barkeep?
Yes.
Yeah, barkeeps. So serve them alcohol. But go ahead.
Which was crazy. And then we entered that room, and then, it just felt like you could hear a pin drop because everyone turned around and saw us, and then that's when the big brawl happened.
Right.
I remember throwing someone to a table.
You did.
That was fun.
Yeah, you definitely did. Yeah, that was definitely. I liked the way you guys handled the dungeon. I was not prepared for it. It was that it's interesting you bring up that point where it's like there was kind of no restraints on when you guys KO'd or killed the enemies you guys were fighting, which kind of was the point of the exercise from my perspective, because we've always fought monsters. We're used to fighting evil monsters who are bad. They're all bad, right? So what happens when I throw a humanoid creature who may or may not have, a family or something, and it's not even something you guys even thought about. I don't even think anyone thought about that.
No,
I was thinking about it, but that was the whole point of the exercise of like, why are you guys gonna think like that?
And afterwards, after that session, or just later on in general, we talked about that, and yeah, it didn't even dawn on me that this was an exercise on morality, which is, I would say, is like the main like theme or the overarching theme in your campaign, not just, well, I guess one of them, but yeah, just these choices that we make have consequences, and it really never,
Yeah.
I really never thought about it till now, because I think I mentioned this last time I was talking about it. It was like, it's like when you play video games, Skyrim or GTA, it's like, okay, I shot this person, or okay, I did this cool finisher where I stabbed this guy and cut off his head.
Right.
But you don't really think about that NPC's family, or like what he's gone through, or like, is he really evil?
Exactly, because that's the enemy is there to defeat them. That's the point of a video game.
Yes.
And for a little bit more context for those listening who are like, why are they more morality? Why is that so specific? Well, the session ended with Kagatsuchi essentially, and it's definitely an interesting thing because it's our first time having a conquest paladin, so we're all kind of trying to understand how that works. But our player took it into account that they were torturing people, so he decided to take the lead, a wizard, the lead wizard of the Zanko gang, right, and basically like stab a spear like through his head /
impaled him.
Yeah, he impaled him through the neck, like into and like even like made sure
like propped him up.
Yeah, exactly. Right? He like propped him up on like the throne or whatever that was down there, and our table went a little bit silent, and it was weird because that's kind of where we ended the session. Well, I brought in a character. I brought in a general, a guard, general to the guard, who that was the whole morality thing of like, what the frick did you guys do? There's so much blood. There's so much, like, there are a couple of dead bodies. What the F? And I think everyone is kind of like, oh, that's weird. Morality. Like,
yeah, you're supposed to be cheering us on because we saved the day.
Exactly, like, no, right? Like,
you killed someone.
Like, DM, what are you doing? Like, we're the heroes. Like, this is our. And I was like, from my perspective, I'm like, no, like, this is a huge issue, which kind of stressed me out a little bit because I didn't think. I guess I thought midway through you guys would have realized, like, hey, are we killing people? It doesn't matter. And it never happened, which is fair because, yeah, to your point, it's a game. In video games, like, it's funny that you bring that up because I play video games now, and there are times where I'm like, I don't want to like kill this guy. Like, I want to go do not this, or like just tie him up, and I'm like, oh, that's right, it's a video game. The whole point is to defeat the enemy and get your experience because that's what it is. There's no moving paths. If you decide not to do this, he becomes a good guy and he gives you free money every time you visit him. They don't program that in. it's weird that us as humans have the ability to play a game and be like, well, depending on what you guys did, like if you guys attacked the general guard's name, by the way, is Radless. If you guys ended up attacking Radless, what happens then, right? There's so much like it didn't happen, but it's interesting how that would have happened.
How much would you have rewritten if we decided to go that route?
If you attacked Radless?
Yeah.
Oh man, a lot. I think we would have had to stop it.
Just scrap it all.
Well, because right. So I wrote a good aligned campaign, right? I wrote something where the characters are ideally supposed to be helping. They don't have to help in a conventional way. You could have all been dicks to Radless and just left, and he would have had to chase you guys down and be like, hey, no. But if you just straight up started killing people, it kind of leads into the whole kind of murder hobo idea where, I don't know, you guys are just killing people. So what campaign are we? What campaign do you guys want to play? Because obviously you don't care, right? You want to do your own personal quest maybe, or you're not interested in what's presented in front of you. So I would have definitely tabled my current campaign and have rewritten it to the idea of, I guess sandbox is the correct word here, and have you guys kind of go ahead and do whatever you want. Maybe have a couple of things that I've already written here and there just to have dungeons, but at that point it becomes this sandboxy world where if you want to go attack the town general store, go for it. The guards will chase after you. You guys run away. You know, the Metal Gear exclamation mark disappears.
And then you just try to find the opportunity to do it again.
Exactly, yeah. Because it's what game are we trying to play at that point? It would have been a kind of a little bit of a big discussion because it does change. It does change because now you guys aren't focused on like making those decisions. You're just focused on let's just mess around, right, in this world. Which neither of them would be wrong. It's just what I have prepared is not that.
I know, man. And how many years in the making was this one?
I think it was about 2 years. Well, no, that's not true. We started 3 years ago? Yeah, no, 2 years. Maybe a year and a half.
Yeah, man. So. And to see that all just go up in flames. Want to see that at all.
Go up in flame, yeah. And I'm getting a little bit more used to the concept of like, I think I want to see you guys make it go up in flames, but also not go up in flames, but not destroy it, because if you just destroy it, then I have nowhere to go with it. And I don't know, maybe that's any DM, if you have insight on that, that'd be interesting. I would love to hear kind of your party defeated the big end. I've read some stuff, right, where it's like the party just kills the main NPC. What happens? I think people just create a new NPC and just move everything that was supposed to be for that NPC onto the other NPC, because you guys wouldn't know, right?
No.
That would be the concept. So I think that's a little learning point for myself too, where it's like, if you did that, well, maybe I just move it to another NPC and it still works. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's all an interesting question for me that I can go on forever about, because I don't know. It's a what if, and we never did the what if. So, but yeah, we ended the session there, and I think I started having discussions with some people because, yeah, I mean, we should have beat around the bush. Some players were a little nervous about keeping their character. I, as the DM, wasn't sure kind of where to go with it, because it did feel like people didn't really feel bad. I mean, I'm hearing you now say like, oh, morality. Like, you might have felt that, but did Falion even care, I guess?
Falion didn't care in the sense that he didn't care the situation he was in. I mean, I don't think I killed anyone.
But yeah, we agree that Falion didn't kill anyone, so.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. So, but that was definitely, session 2 was definitely like an interesting exercise of like, if I do this, what happens? And if you guys do that, what happens? And I basically stressed myself out. Still beating around that bush. But we figured it out. So that's, I think, a perfect tie-in that can lead us into session 3 and what happened in session 3. Session 3, bonds that tie us together. Now, before I even explain the summary of this, bear in mind that this part will probably be a fairly long time. I had a discussion with most of the players, and so this session basically starts with a somewhat forced campfire scene to let all the characters kind of talk to each other about even why they're together. So the party takes that time to learn about each other, and I was able to kind of make Radless give the NPCs a chance to let them pay their debt back to Dorakuma City. This is the big city east in the province of Azuma, east of the Sword Coast. So they decided to take that offer, which again, that wasn't me even asking them. They decided to take that offer because they could have ran away. They could have become outlaws, and that would have made the game very interesting.
No, I'm not going back to jail. That's what I did.
So you guys took that, which I think was great, and you rode into Dorakuma City, and basically this whole session ended up becoming kind of a Phalion episode.
Yeah, you unloaded everything on me. No, because like we talked about last time after the session, I was like, okay, I was waiting for one thing to kind of spur my guy to have a change of heart, but you just dropped everything in the kitchen sink.
Well, okay, so hold on, let's get the overall session kind of explained first, and then we could dive into like Phalion and what happened. So
yes,
you guys went to the council. You ended up receiving a couple quests that you can do to repay your debt to society, but also those quests, you guys needed to talk to the king of Dorakuma. So you guys were like, we got to do all of these, and so you decided to do all of these because you needed to bring the quote unquote main quest back to Valari's request back to the king. So we'll talk about the first part. Well, actually, hold on. What was the first piece that you ran into? That's actually I don't remember that now.
I remember being tax collectors. I think that was one of them.
Well, that was actually that wasn't the first one. It was the EAA, right?
Oh, well,
yeah.
Like in terms of paying our debts back?
Well, in terms of like Phalion focused stuff, like
right.
You guys the party went to this place called the EAA, which I've referenced maybe 2 or 3 times in our first 2 sessions, but this is the first time you guys have actually been to the EAA. And we can divulge your backstory. Do you want to say it, or do you want me to?
You can explain it and I'll chime in.
Okay. So part of Phalian's backstory, his main whole quest is to go and find this half-elf ranger who he figured out the name was Elidhir. Some of you may notice that is Neil's previous character.
Yeah, from Campaign 2.
So Phalian wants to go hunt Elidhir for whatever reason that he has. We can divulge in that, but he has that's his backstory. So the EAA is, when they find out, is a association created by Elidhir, which was kind of the first thing that you ran into, Phalian, or Neil, I guess. What do I call you at this point? Now I'm like, Phalian.
I'm both. I am one with my character.
I'm like,
call me
Phalian. So that's something I definitely want to ask you, was like, when we dropped that EAA bomb, which honestly I didn't expect you guys to do that. That's funny, that because you're like, oh, there are so many things that I dropped. It's like, well, the EAA, I didn't know when you guys were going to go there. Actually, let's take one more step back. I introduced Sai and Promise to you. There was a halfling, or I think he's a gnome, and a tiefling, which actually was another player character on our last campaign named Promise. Again, to Neil's point earlier on, where I kind of bring certain characters back and they kind of evolve, and you can see that. I introduced them to Phalian to kind of, it's a little bit like the tip of the iceberg, right? It's like, here's a little thing that I have prepared for you, Neil, that sets Phalian into this kind of thinking less about himself and more about the world around him kind of thing. So let's talk about that scene first, because that was the first thing I introduced to you.
Right, and it was right after Chu Village, and and you keep referencing this every time you summon the character, but like the jingling of bells, of coins.
Yeah, that's
and exactly I turn around, I see this little halfling man. and by the way, like I said previously, my character is kind of like a gladiator. I actually based him off of a wrestler. And so my mindset going into this campaign was I was going to be a heel wrestler. I was going to be a bad guy. I was going to be a dick to everyone and not care. And then this was kind of the turning point towards redemption of being a good guy. And it was crazy because I thought, oh, this is just some guy who he's going to talk about how he looks up to me and be a fan. But no, it turns out that there's a prophecy to my character called the Sea Champion.
Right.
Not just a story. It's actually true. And so, yeah, once you get something like that in your head, like, you really can't just think about yourself.
Right. Right. And that sets your character off into this kind of, that's just a child's story, but then I think as a player you started thinking about it more too, of like, what? What?
Right.
I don't know, right? What was going through your mind, I guess, at that point?
What was going through my mind was like, wow, this is actually something. It's bigger than my personal quest, because it's like, oh, I could potentially bring back the glory of my homeland and all that.
Right. You were a bunch of sea boat.
Yes. My character is technically a noble from an island.
Yeah.
If anyone out there watches Game of Thrones, I'm basically a Greyjoy. Jay, you know what that means.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. Greyjoy. Yep.
No, but essentially, yeah, just like a sea prince, as also is his gladiator name.
Yep.
But yeah, just I was hoping that you would bring that up later, but the fact that we were discussing it, we're like, no, we gotta to ease the burden off of off of me, because I was even saying that, man, it's really hard and awkward to just be a bad guy throughout a whole session. Yeah, I mean, it was fun, but it was just a challenge to get.
It was definitely interesting
to get the narrative going and to actually have fun, because like I felt like there were times where, because me, you knowing me, I like to joke, I like to goof around, but it's like I felt like my guy was too brooding and too serious as playing that heelish character. So yeah, just but I'm glad we made the turn. Right. I'm glad that I got something bigger to focus on, because my personal quest is like, okay, I hunt this guy. After I do, what's next? Do I care about the main campaign? Do I care about anything else? Now I do, because if I'm going to be a good leader, like a King Arthur-esque character, I have to care about it. So I'm glad that that story is starting to unfold now.
Yeah, which is interesting. Like that unfolded, but you still wanted to kill Elliot here. So, which leads us back to the EAA. Like you discovered the EAA, and you also discovered that somehow, somewhere, he named a shop after your dead best friend.
Which wasn't fair. That's not fair, man. This is what I'm talking about. All right.
What do you mean that's not fair? That was planned from the start. What are you talking about?
All you had to do was stop with me fulfilling the tale of the sea champion. That was all I needed. But no, you had to take away my thirst of revenge by saying that Ellidir built a pet shop in the name of my best friend, who happened to be a tabaxi, who liked pets, or who wanted to open a pet shop of his own. Which I don't know how it's gonna be crazy. Like, yes, you're dropping everything on me, but you still haven't revealed how he knows all this.
I haven't dropped a lot on you. Yeah.
Well, to me, you dropped a lot on me. But in terms of like the why, yeah, you have not revealed any of that yet.
Right. Which, yeah, that was a very interesting moment, because we spoke about it. Like it may or may not have been planned out at the time. But you were like not ready for it at all.
I was not, and I love Brian's reactions in general to everything. But I love his reaction of when you said, "Oh yeah, there's a pet shop over there," and I started walking towards it in the middle of the night, and then like Brian's like, "Guys, maybe we should go after him."
Yeah, and Brian, by the way, plays Genbu, so the Turtle Man was like, and if I might chime in just a little bit for everyone else to learn. I actually spoke to Brian about that, and I think he said if we were still playing, because we discussed alignments and how I felt it was holding everyone back. He actually said that he doesn't think he would have gone after you, because Genbu would have just wanted to go to sleep. But the fact that we kind of tiled that back, it made it more like personable and like, should we should we go after him? Yeah, that was a beautiful moment of like, oh my gosh, you guys actually care about each other right now, and you're concerned that Phalion might freaking burn down this or
break a window if anything.
I think they were. That was such an interesting scene, because I didn't know what you were gonna do. You very no emotion. You said to me, Phalion gets up and heads to that shop, and I'm like, okay, and like everyone else was like, should we follow him? Yeah, we follow him.
We probably should.
And I was like, I don't know what you're gonna do? Like, if you burn this place down, we're back at square one where I don't know how to handle you again.
No, I think at that point, it was just me in shock that, one, you brought it up, and two, I have to see it as Falion. He's like, I got to see this for my own eye. It was that kind of moment.
Right.
And I guess in the back of my mind, too, like, it's still Falion's, yes, he does want revenge. So I think maybe in the back of his mind, it was like, there's an off chance that he might find Eladir in a pet shop of all places. But
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like what he's doing now. He owns the EAA, but he just hides in the pet shop.
Right, yeah. He's like a John Wick.
That's fair. Yeah, I didn't think about that. But yeah, so that was a beautiful scene. That's what I'm talking about. Like where session 3, once we kind of dropped a couple things that were kind of really what I felt was holding us down, you guys became more and more into like the decision you make are like, now you're making that because you would do that, or you know that your character would definitely like they would just do that, and I'm gonna roll with it and let's see what happens now. Versus, well, there's only one focus, so I'm gonna do that.
Right.
So that was,
and for me.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, like I said, I'm naturally cracking jokes. I'm naturally goofy. So it was just such a relief just to be able to do that again, and like fighting now, the actions that I take when we're doing like ability checks, describing what I do. It's fun. Yeah,
we didn't get to kind of see too much of that, but yeah, it was, I remember you asking you like, well, he did, like Falion did the I don't know what the move is, but you drove someone through a table.
Oh, the FU? Yeah, he just slammed someone. Yeah.
But didn't we talk about that? And you're like, well, that was like an accidental like kneel move.
Yeah, that, and I wanted to talk about this a couple when we were talking about the session before.
Sure, bring it up.
Session 2.
Yeah.
Like we ran into like 3 animals, and one of them was like a gorilla, and I made a Jane Goodall joke.
Right.
I tried to do sign language to gorilla. Now, as a heelish brooding character, I probably would not have done that, but as me liking to make other people laugh, I did so.
And it was super interesting too, like when we discussed that afterwards, because you're just like, yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen, and I'm like, oh, do I just retcon it then? Like, is that like it got into like a discussion of like, who is your character? And I felt like even you were like unsure, well, not unsure, but you're just like, the focus is just this, like he's just supposed to be the heel toe,
right?
Nothing else.
Now.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be like a slow burn.
Burn, gotcha.
But at the end, we're just like, no. Let's make this happen.
Yeah, it had a lot more character, and you even brought back your best friend. The fact that he's a tabaxi, it's like you like animals, like that's interesting. It like changes it up the way you interact with other people too,
right?
And it makes that whole scene like make sense too. So. But yeah, that was like night 1 when you guys finally got to the city, and the next day you decided to do there was a quest, so they received 3 quests to do, and one of them was to collect taxes. I don't know, guys, I just needed a reason so that they could go to the residential area, but yeah, they decided to go collect taxes.
You couldn't have us deliver mail or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
Something nice. I felt kind of bad taking money from like.
I think that was the idea, right? I think the idea was like it's supposed to be something crappy that like even you guys will be like, oh man, we gotta go knock on doors and ask. Like we're not even like actual like part of the city. But yeah, I don't know. To your point, yeah, I guess it should have been mail. Well, I guess you wouldn't have spoken to anyone if it was mail. I don't know. But that leads me into you discover that your mom is alive.
Apparently.
Which we introduced.
Yeah, dude. Like I said, man, you were dropping bombs on me left and right, because my character's backstory was so I'm from the island. My mother and father are the Duke and Duchess of like an area in that island. It gets under attack. And I thought that my mother was killed. My father was fighting off the enemy at sea, and he was I thought he was burned alive, and I'm pretty sure he's dead unless you bring him back. But yeah, I thought I lost everything.
Right.
I thought Falion. I keep saying I am Falion now.
Yeah, I mean you are.
But yeah. Falion lost his kingdom. He lost his parents. He was sold into being a slave gladiator.
Right.
And now he's here, finding that everything is in front of him this whole time.
Oh man, that part. That scene was, and my favorite part is like, so Novell is played as someone who she's under the Seeker, so she has to write knowledge for the Seeker. So it was funny seeing Novell basically writing down all of this information as like this drama.
Yeah,
she can relay back to the Seeker, and then excuse me, I may have made a little popping noise in there, but and then Genbu, who was really just at this point Brian being really excited. He's like, I love this. I love what's happening. I just want to watch this unfold. Which was really exciting to watch. But to your point of like, I was dropping them. I still find it hilarious because I didn't know what you guys were gonna do. Right? I thought you guys were gonna go to the council. And then I thought you guys were gonna be like, all right, let's look for the local tavern. Maybe I made the EAA sound too good because they do offer free like room and board. So you guys went there, and then that kind of unfolded that. And then I was waiting for you guys to just leave because you're like, whatever, I don't care about the EAA. But you guys kept talking to one of the NPCs there, and you guys were like, you finally asked, what does the EAA stand for?
Yeah, you were using the acronym the whole time, and I'm like, am I supposed to know this by now? Is it like the FBI? Like, it's just a thing now.
Which is to my point was like, yeah, that was the idea. Was like, it's up to you guys really to like ask that question, right? It's not a secret. It's there. It's just it's up to you guys, but you guys did it, and it's conveniently Thalion's entire like backstory.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then I gave you 3 quests to do. And oddly enough, the first one you guys decide to do leads you into the residential area, which will leave you will not see the banner. By the way, for those to understand the context, when they went to the residential area, I did make it clear that there were banners of Thalion's hometown that were being flown at one of the residents.
Right.
You don't just miss that if it's your. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the banner. Do you still have the card that I drew for the initiative track?
I don't, but I mean I do. It's not on me right now, but I know what it looks like. I know what
you're putting this on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I can. You want me to like post the image?
Yeah, just take an image of that. But yeah, It's basically because my character fights with a trident. Sticking with the gladiator islander motif, at man at the sea motif. I fight with a trident, and I just pictured like a banner of that trident flowing in the wind.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, when your whole town is dead and you see that banner flying,
it's like, what else do you do but run towards it?
I'm not going to ask you for a perception check to understand if that banner looks, what that banner is.
Exactly.
So you guys did that, which was great. I mean, how going through your mind and your character's mind, man, like re-meeting your mom, I guess. How was that whole entire thing for you?
Literally, to my character, brought someone back from the dead. That's how in shock he was just to see her.
Right.
And the fact that she's doing well, like it's not even like a story where it's like she lost everything type thing. It was like, no, her butler's still there.
Right.
And like they're actually trying to rebuild what do dukes and duchesses rule? A duchy?
The town? I don't know.
The town. We'll say town.
Yeah. They're rebuilding that town
you're from. On the left-hand side. Yeah. But yeah, the fact that she's doing well for herself, and because making it even more complicated, the story of revenge, because Eladir is helping rebuild the town.
Eladir is funding the town.
Yeah, like everything that went wrong is going right because of the man who caused it. Well, I guess in Thalion's mind, who caused it all to go wrong.
Right. It really begs the question. Yeah, I don't think we've explained that. So basically, without going into full detail, Eladir was part of this mercenary group that ended up attacking and basically destroying Thalion's hometown. So that's why this whole story
And he sold me into gladiatorial slavery.
Right, and he yes, thank you. That's another important detail. So you were attacked and sold by this man. So that's kind of how this whole backstory unfolds. But yeah, I mean, there are these little eggs that exist that you have found that are really kind of twisting things into a confusing light for you, I would say.
Yeah, it fucking did.
So I'll leave it there. What else happened this session? I mean, Novell ended up... You guys discover that Novell actually is a noble herself. Her parents are the headmaster and headmistress of the university located in Dorikuma City. So initially she was just this nerdy girl, and you discover that her parents basically own a university. I don't know if you have any comments about that piece of it.
That was really cool. Because the city to me is like so detailed already, and the fact that there's an actual university, I pictured like a Greek-esque, or just like a lot of marble everywhere.
Sure.
People wearing togas and like just very academic. And
what school did you go to again? I'm just kidding.
What was I trying to say? But the fact like that that Novelle's parents were just, you really do bring things to life, man. And just the fact that they're so interested in us, and like they were taking our measurements and
right,
analyze like every little detail about us. It was really cool. And
man, their names are logic and philosophy. They got
that's another
something,
thing.
Right?
Yeah, right.
And that was a Chris thing, by the way. She chose those names. By the way, Chris plays Novelle. So for those of you who are wondering, when we say our players' real names, we'll make sure to let you know who they are. Yeah, but so I mean, her and I discussed it, and she picked those names, and I was like, okay, what can I do with? Who are they? What do they do? And that whole scene was a little bit improv too, because I wasn't even sure, like, they're headmasters, but like, what do they do while they're working? Like, what is their real job? What are they studying in this world? So that
Everything.
was nice. Apparently, yeah, that's very true. Yeah, right. Like right when any of you walk in, they start taking measurements, and we did that. I think session 5. It's a little side. It's not a huge detail, but or session 4. I don't know. Whenever Missoula was there, we brought her into. Or she finally met the parents, because she wasn't there when you guys first met her, and they started taking measurements of the Loxodon very kind of rudely, but that's just who they were.
Right. So Novelle she ran away from this university. She ran away from her parents.
I don't think I can say that. That's something you'll have to ask her. Right? I don't think she brought that up. Yeah, I won't divulge that. So,
all right.
If it does get divulged, we can definitely talk about that. But that's something. Go ahead.
Oh, because I was gonna say, because like when we entered the university, it sounded like, because people were like recognizing Novelle's character.
Right.
I would say she's well-to-do or well-known.
Well-known,
in the town. So, and the fact, and it made it seem like it was like a home.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, I don't think Novelle has divulged it a lot, so I won't say anything as to not spoil her backstory.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just leave that one there, and maybe it's something you bring up next session.
Will do.
Yeah. So what else did you guys do here? You guys did that quest. You've met. I mean, you learned. Do you want to talk about that? That your father actually isn't your father?
Oh yeah, that's another thing. I mean, this is a very spoilery.
Back on the Fallion train.
in so many levels, but basically, those of you out there who don't know, I am basically making a band of brothers, in a way, and I think it's like, what do we keep saying? The Ridiculous Six, that Adam Sandler movie.
Similar to that,
so yeah, picture that. Picture a man siring like 6 different siblings who have never met each other. And it's funny because like that's always going to be the backstory to every character I make. And like, for example, I made like a half orc who's a male model. His father is Elijah's father. I made like a bard and a sorcerer, I want to say, or a wizard or something.
Yeah,
but yeah,
because you made Zoolander kind of. I think,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
But yeah, basically, Fallion comes to find out that he's part of that chain too. Which is planned, by the way.
That was planned, yeah. Which is why I'm like, that's not too big of a spoiler. I think
no,
this is like your 4th character, so I feel like at least at our table, they're kind of it still comes out as like a surprise. I think because when we reveal that, it's not a spoiler to you, but to the table, they were like, again, another one. Like, why does this man keep having sex with like a bunch of people and just having babies?
So we might as well say who it is.
Go for it.
The campaign prior, we have a man named Steveland, who is a bard based off of Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
And in campaign 2, the whole thing was Elodier didn't know who his father was. And we could talk about this.
Yeah, we
so
can talk
much.
about this. Oh, yeah. I
But
just
basically,
Cliff Notes version.
but basically, throughout campaign 2, I was like, Jay, I'm not going to pick who that is. You can pick who my father is. And Jay picked Steve Wonder, which was really cool. And he has been a very, very character and a great recurring funny man
Right.
throughout these past 2 campaigns.
So a lot of our recurring NPCs, I feel like, kind of do the comic relief just a little bit.
Yeah, they really do.
I feel like our stories are getting a little bit more. It's not serious, but they do. You guys get into them. We get into them.
For sure.
But yeah, so you learn that fact that Falion is part of, or at least I guess the table learned that fact because you kind of already knew that. You just weren't sure when that would appear.
And so now the drama continues. Does Falion have the guts to kill his half brother?
Yes, that's right. Because you're half sibling, you're half brothers. That's
right.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, and then you discover the city, the new Falion.
Mm-hmm.
You even go there. You meet
being rebuilt.
Yeah, this town is being built next to the port in the city. And you even meet an NPC who's standing there who's like, this is great because I carve boats, but I want to make boats. Kind of, that really was just me drilling it even deeper into your skin.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I can't. Oh my god.
That was just me just being a complete jerk to Neil and just being like, you know what?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it might be a new town named after him, but like, what if I just introduce this young kid who's like, hey, work opportunity. I always wanted to try that. And so, Falion, if you kill Ellen here, this all gets thrown into the dumpster and you just ruin so many people's lives.
Pretty much. Oh my god.
Which is, it's a little bit of me, you know, obviously kind of like playing with you a bit because it's funny, but also like it's interesting because like how what's Falion's line? Where does he draw that line of like, fine, I won't kill this guy, but I hate him, right? Or it's like, no, I came here to kill him. I'm gonna kill. Like I'm kind of like, that's why I guess I'm like throwing things down because I'm like curious. I'm like, okay, Falion, like, how much do you hate this guy, and is there even a way to kind of rectify what he's done to you? But
believe me, man, I think at this point you took the scale so far on like salvation that there's like a 90% chance that things will go right.
90%.
But I did want to
interesting.
Yeah, like what can you do, man? He built a pet shop in memory of the person he slain. Like how nice could you get after that? But I did want to pose this question to you.
Sure.
I'm going to put you in the hot seat right now.
Okay,
so
let's do it.
Like I said, you've tipped the scale in that way, but will you tempt Falion back into the dark side?
Oh.
Now that's the question, because now at this point, I think we both know where it's going. But are you going to throw things, and you don't have to answer it, but it sounds like you do have something.
See, folks, this is why you don't discuss D&D with your players because you should just walk away. I think the podcast, we got to end it here.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, like I said, like how much more dynamic can the story? That's just all
I don't know. Write that down, people. Write that question down and come back when we start discussing session 8 or 10.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll have to keep playing to find out. But so I'm gonna ignore that question and move on.
Fine.
This was a big session, by the way. Like a lot of stuff happened where it was really it was a lot of role play, which was fun.
It was. It was.
So you guys did a quest. You guys had to go to this. It's a lake. It's like a pond, like a public park / lake. I
was picturing a like Central Park. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Yeah, Central Park. Basically Central Park. That's basically what it was.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, just not to the scale. You know, that's the idea. You got it right. And yeah, I don't know. I don't want to delve too much in detail about this one. I mean, you guys met triplets, which were basically just Huey, Louie, and Dewey from DuckTales that I just wanted to throw in there. You did meet an NPC who was from a one-off prior to. So I don't know if you even recognized Nefeli, but
I did not initially.
Okay.
But then when you kept saying the name, I was trying to I was like, was this from a one-off? Was this from a campaign? But yeah, she did become more familiar as like, especially by the end of the session when you mentioned it.
Right.
But yeah.
Right. Yeah, and then you guys ended up kind of going through this dungeon, which it's another question to you. Like, I'm trying to make the dungeons feel very, and I think we spoke about this, but I'll reiterate it and I'll ask you again. Kind of, how do you feel about this dungeon? The dungeons are supposed to feel like you're exploring something more over than, oh, here's room A, B, C, and you got to go through each. I don't know. I went letters instead of numbers, but you get what I'm saying. It's room 1, 2, 3, and you just have to go through the motions, right? But this time, this had a little bit of it had life to it, so to speak. But
Yeah,
how did you
I know
feel
you
about?
mentioned. Oh,
Go ahead.
go ahead. Ask. No, you can ask a question.
No, that was it. Just how did you feel about it? Like, what's your thoughts on it?
It was very good in terms of description. I know you mentioned like there was writing on the wall and like scratch marks from I think it was a sword, or like we weren't sure what they were, so we're like, oh,
Right,
something bad is this way. And then you described the odor, and
right,
like as we kept going deeper, it's like, hey, should we go this way? No, the smell's getting stronger. Maybe we should go the other way.
right.
So that was really cool. And it wasn't straightforward. And I like
Mm.
that when things aren't straightforward, because I know there was a room where it was like a tar pit, I believe,
Yep.
and that's it. Then you're like, okay, that's a tar pit. It's like, okay, so I don't, and then me just being like so linear. It's like, oh, there's thing in way. What now?
There's thing
Uh,
in way. Yeah, for sure.
but I wanted to jump it, but then I stuck my blunt, like the butt of the trident in there, and then I believe it corroded a bit.
Yes, it did. Yep.
So it's like,
Yeah.
no, no, not going that way.
Yeah.
So that
For
was
sure.
really cool. And then we got to run into Nephili, like you said, and
Yep.
she sprung a trap on us, which made me question whether she was good or bad.
Sure.
So that was interesting.
Oh, interesting. I never asked that.
Because
You
I
never approached
thought, yeah, because like spur of the moment, someone, pulls a lever and then a monster comes out. That's gotta be a bad guy.
that. Right.
But no, she was just doing her thing. She likes treasure, I
She
guess.
just wants money, dude.
That's
That's
pretty much it.
hilarious.
Yeah, I can't blame her for it.
Right.
But yeah, so that was a cool fight.
Okay. And then yeah, and that ended up the last thing you guys did, you went that wasn't even the final room. You guys found
No,
the
no,
corpse flower. Oh, and the whole point
that
of this whole
wasn't
thing is that people were missing. People were missing. Sadly they're all dead, those NPCs.
right.
But they
And
were all
those
missing. So
NPCs were in the corpse flower.
yeah,
They
there were
were
a
being,
couple there were
they
yeah.
were yeah, they were mulch for that thing. Dude, that thing is
That's
scary.
basically what that was, yeah.
Did you show a picture
I
of
believe
that
I
to us?
did. Yeah, that one
You
was
did?
from Mordenkainen's, I believe. So that one was
That
it was
thing.
a flower. Think of I want to say the flower from Ooh, I'm gonna get yelled at by people. What is this movie? The singing piranha plant.
Oh,
Oh
the one that
boy.
goes, feed me,
Yeah,
Seymour.
that one, that one. It kind of looks like that with a bunch of
Oh
vines
shit.
and some dead bodies around it.
But the crazy thing was, if I recall the story correctly, there was a guy who was cultivating it, and he cultivated his own body.
Correct. Yeah. So I created
And
a
that's fucked
character, which
up.
wasn't even met. You never met it. You guys found his staff and his journal, and his name was Dido, and he discovered the corpse flower and was
Oh,
like, I'm gonna bury myself into it to
yeah,
become said flower, so I can live forever. And that was the story behind this dungeon, which
right.
was basically that, which is like you said, it was really messed up.
It was, and by the way, I'm only laughing because when you said the guy's name was Dido, I kept thinking of Dido the singer.
Yeah,
Which anyone out there who knows who Dido the singer is, good on you, because apparently I was the only one out there.
Oh, jeez. But yeah, I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I remember
No,
talking
I
to
liked it.
Novelle too, and she was like, I hated that because it was so creepy. Like,
And that's the thing though. It was like it's not your run of the mill goblin.
right.
First of all, the name itself, corpse
It's
flower.
terrifying.
That's
Yes.
just terrifying in itself.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, I'm just looking at let's see what else all my notes here. Yeah, you guys took that out. You got the seed and you were able to bring it back to the to the council, and you guys took like a nice little bath at the bathhouse cuz y'all smelled like
Yeah.
like dookie. But yeah, that ended our session there. I don't know, do you have any like last notes on that one? That was a big session for sure.
It was. I did want to touch base on the Huey, Dewey, and Louie characters, and I just like the fact that you introduced them. You made them hide in hay bales.
That's right.
And then we like touched their treasure chest, and they sprung out. And then that was like going back to the whole morality thing. It was like we fight children.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that was definitely to your point. I am trying to introduce moral things of just like think before you act, because I feel like I truly believe if we were playing how we were kind of playing in the first 2 sessions without thinking like that stuff, right? You guys would have killed 3 children for sure.
Well, that's why I was like hanging back. I think it was it Genbu who tried to do something with him? In terms of like trying to subdue him?
I want to say Darian was about to shoot them, but then kind of realized that like they're not really hurting you guys.
Right.
Everyone was kind of on edge, right? Because the context of this was my detail was they're wearing hoods, so you can't see what they are.
But we knew you guys got it like very small children.
Yeah, they were like, I said they were like halfling sized, I think. But it was kind of obvious that it became very quickly obvious because the treasure inside, I think you guys checked.
You said like it was like a wooden sword and like
it was a wooden sword and like chocolate coins, and you guys were immediately like, "This isn't. Yeah, what is it? What? Yeah, some sketchy business going on." But that's like the great part of it was like, I don't know, guys, what are you gonna do? You gonna kill these halflings?
It's like, nope. I'm just gonna watch till someone does something.
Which was great. Yeah, that was interesting. I think if I recall, I don't think anyone attacked them per se, like actually attacked them. I think people, if they did attack, it was like a tap to kind of get them down.
Yeah,
once you guys pulled off the hoods and it was revealed that they were just children, you guys were like, you guys should probably leave. So yeah, that was definitely a great moment too. So I think we're ready to move on to session 4. Should we do that?
Yeah, I think it's time.
All right, let's do it. Session 4, the Exterminators. So what happens here? I'm looking at like 2 different notes, and I think you and the player Brandon, who plays Darian, you guys came early. This is out of game. So you guys, this is where I introduced the EAA quest board, and you guys decide to take the rat cleanup quest, which you kind of jump into. It is a pre-made quest from, I'm so sorry, the company that made it. It escapes me. Kobold Press. I'm pretty sure it's Kobold Press, and if it's not, then I apologize. But I'm pretty sure it's Kobold Press, and they created this. I basically borrowed. I have all these quests from Humble Bundles, so I'm throwing these up so that we can kind of play them. You and Brandon tend to be on time or early, rather.
We're always the first to.
Yeah, you're always the first to make it at the time. So this is an option if you guys have time to do it, like extra stuff. So you guys decided to do this. This was just a weird kind of twist of a quest where you guys went to the ports. You met this NPC named Ono. Is it Ono? I thought it was Otokami. But
you named him. I thought it was Oto, like T-O?
I thought it was Oto too. I don't know why I wrote down Onokami, but
right. And can you explain? There you go. And and as soon as you explained that, he came to life.
Yeah, he came to life for you. Right. You kissed his ring. You were set to go. So yeah, you guys met this guy. He needed a quest done. You took into this quest, and you even ran into the strange man who like praised the Lord, the God, deity,
of rats.
Of rats.
Yeah.
And then everyone kind of came in, so you were like, all right, whatever, side mission. Well, we can come back to it, right? You know, I wasn't being a strict DM about it. We're like, no, you gotta finish it or bad things will happen. So
and the strange man, he was drawing in my head like Mickey Mouse with like a pipe.
Yeah. I think I just said a mouse with a pipe, and yeah, if it was Mickey Mouse with a pipe, by all means.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
That's totally what it was. You guys learned a little bit more about Missoula, looks like. You learned a little bit more about Roscoe. And you guys took on the kind of the biggest quest of the 3 quests you were asked by the council to do, and that was a Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry if that came through. I'm talking a lot and I'm getting all burpy at this point. So, oddly enough, the main quest was like a sewer cleanup. There were more and more rats that seemed to be appearing in the city of Dorakuma, and it kind of tied in together with the rat cleanup at the Port Umi, where you guys kind of dungeon delved into the sewers, which, if you want to explain how that was, even the city overall, just kind of like how that feels like to, dungeon delve in the city sounds kind of weird at first glance.
Yeah, it was interesting because when I think of like every quest that you've given us up to this point, it was like, yeah, it's at this location, go to this cave, or it's at this burnt downtown, go over here. And there was a bit of travel. Now it's like, go through this manhole, okay? So it was interesting, but the transition between town to dungeon, it was quick, but it was definitely still a dungeon. I mean, just like going through that winding path and seeing like the dude, what was his name? The dude who's like behind like the door.
Gomratu, yeah,
that was
the
crazy.
Weird hobo guy that owns put it into context. There's a character that has like a little secret shop in the sewers and sells things he finds in the sewage.
But he did have a really cool scarf that apparently came to life.
Yeah,
that was
it was
pretty
a
cool.
scarf that.
Damn, I don't know why I didn't take that.
I was waiting for you to buy that scarf and you didn't. Like you were like, maybe. And I think everyone was kind of dissuading you because you were like, but he found it in the sewer.
But it had magical properties. I was like, was it kind of like the magic carpet from Aladdin? Was it sentient or was it just
No, from what you guys learned is you just say the magic word and it starts flowing.
Just like,
in the wind. Yeah, it's made you beautiful really and heroic.
Because then I'd go, you can't see me, and then
and the scarf would start flowing in the wind.
And then like does the wave.
that would be amazing, cool. Dude.
Damn, I gotta go back. All right.
And what else did you do? Yeah, you guys ran into the demonic rats that were below there, discovering that they do necrotic damage, and you guys were like, we're not properly equipped for this, so you kind of backed out, which was a first, I think, for you guys.
We had to prepare.
Yeah, you guys usually kind of just like tough it out and just go through it, and
it's like, no, I don't want to die.
Yeah, but this time you're like, no, this isn't worth death just yet. So you guys left. You guys took some time to rest and get rid of necrotic damage, and you jumped back in, which was really awesome to see. And then let's see what happens the day after. Some extra stuff where you go shopping. Some people do their personal quest in regards to Missoula has these ingredients she needs to find. And so she spoke to one of the magic shop owners to talk to her about that. I guess the biggest thing is you guys prepped, which was that necrotic healing potions and stuff that were created for you. You guys learned that Gomratu makes his own out of his toenails and sewage water, but you guys really needed it, so you got it. And then nothing too crazy. I mean, you went through the sewers, you fought some more rats. The biggest one that I think you want to talk about is you met this strange goblin man. I love your response to that. So we have a friend who doesn't necessarily he enjoys playing against the party. We've asked him to play D&D, but he doesn't seem interested. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Or he's not interested in the long form. He just wants to roll dice and try to kill everyone's species. Right.
I think like if you could like make like a 30 minutes to an hour session, I think he'd be all on board.
Right.
But that never is gonna happen.
Well, which is that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, I don't know how we always play so long. I mean, I guess we're just having fun, right? Exactly. So that was kind of the curveball I threw at you guys, which was hilarious because once we brought our friend in, half the table was immediately like, so he's going to turn on us, right? And I was like, I don't know. Of course I knew, but it was just funny that you guys were like, we don't trust this at all.
No, because last time we had a one-off and you had him aid us, he attacked us later.
Right. So, spoiler alert. Yeah, he eventually, you guys find Chitter, who's hanging out in like the center of like the whole entire sewer. And you fight Chitter. the goblin who he named him Mon in the Hammock because, sorry for anyone who doesn't want to imagine this, he apparently was just a goblin wearing a banana hammock.
Yeah, you were like, describe him. Yeah, he's wearing a banana hammock.
That's all he told us. I let my players have at it.
Like, okay.
So I apologize to anyone who like any of our players listening is like, yeah, well, you know who he is, so you definitely that's totally expected. But that was great. So it's even weirder because it wasn't just a goblin; it was a goblin wearing just a banana hammock who was like fighting was fighting a battle with you guys, but all he wanted was cheese, which was really, it was just weird in general.
Overall weird character. I thought he wanted to put his dick in the cheese. That's how the holes are made.
He probably would have done it if he made it, but you guys melted the cheese in that fight.
Yeah, and they got angry.
So pretty much halfway through the fight, it was still, Chitter was, it was kind of just a fun moment because our friend wanted to come by for that day. So I was like, all right, let's just bring him in. He basically became the boss of that dungeon at that point. Mm-hmm. Chitter asked for his help, and Chitter ended up running away while the goblin like tore off his mask, and he was actually to be revealed as a devil. I think it was a devil. No, it was a demon. Nebasu creature. For those of you who are familiar with the monsters, a Nebasu creature. So he did that, and that was a fun time. Did you have any comments on that?
Vince likes to hurt, and he took his.
Oh, that's right.
Nebasu took a fatal bite to my neck, and it's like, dude, you just took out a quarter of my neck.
Yeah, I think it was a nat 20 roll.
Yeah, that was not cool. I mean, interesting, fun battle, but yeah.
Yeah, or rather, he rolled a nat 20. I rolled the damage, but it did so much that the only way to describe it was, he tore off a chunk of your freaking neck, man. Just got in there. That was crazy.
It was.
But you guys cleaned up the sewers. The rats weren't too much of a problem. Well, Chitter was still a problem. But you did turn it into Kasai, one of the council members. And that's when you guys also received your name, because she asked what you guys were named, and Roscoe blurted out the Exterminators. And thus the Exterminators were born, which I got really excited because you guys have never had an actual name yet.
No.
Well, I guess the party was technically a name, but
it was very...
It was like chosen out of game.
Yeah, it could have been better.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say and I'm glad that we have a name now. Yeah, so I'm all on board being the Exterminators.
So that was great, and I love the moment too because I felt like none of you guys were ready, and Fran, who plays Roscoe, being the man that he is, just spoke up, without even which is funny because he's the one who, from time to time, I think he isn't at all of the sessions. So it was funny that he was like, the Exterminators, and then Roscoe left the scene again.
Right, it's like, oh great, thanks kid.
Yeah. Okay. But it was great because it was definitely one of those spur of the moment. It came out, and that's what no one disagreed with it, and that's who you guys are now. So that's exciting. And that's kind of what happened. I guess if you want to talk about Falion, you had another interaction with Sai.
Right.
It wasn't a huge one. I think it was really just me wanting to play the gods a little bit, or not the gods. I'm sorry. I was reading The Seeker when I read that the kind of these mysterious people you guys are talking to a little bit more.
Right. I think he's an angel.
He's an angel.
I don't know what he is to me because I asked him. I'm like, what are you? And you didn't give me a straight answer.
I don't know what he is, man. He's
just some magic. Yeah. No, we all know it's that lounge singer.
No, dude, the lounge singer had you with Sai, man.
Whoa, man.
It's a conspiracy.
So I'm not even royalty.
You're not even, dude. You're not even you were just adopted, man.
Oh man, this is crazy. Stop retconning my backstory.
By the end of our game, it's just, your character's just gonna be like Mickey Mouse. You were Chitter from the very get go.
No, I don't want to be a rat.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's basically what happened this session. That was probably all over the place for anyone who was listening, so I apologize if that was kind of all over the place. They just fought rats. That's basically what happened. You guys killed a bunch of rats. So I don't know if you have anything crazy to add to that, Neil.
I just wanted to say that I keep throwing weird shit at us, and what I mean by that is like weird things to fight. Like we were saying before, I didn't know what a corpse flower was. That was really cool. I didn't know was it the rat lord, which is basically just like a huge mass of rats that forms a huge humanoid.
Yes, creature. The Rat King, yeah.
Rat King, that's it. And like, wow, that's just crazy how much content there is in terms of.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. Well, I mean, mad respect to Kobold Press because I think that's a creation of theirs actually. So that's not even Wizards,
Press, man.
Right?
Dude,
yeah.
Keep on being weird with it, man. I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I am doing my best to kind of find the interesting and the different creatures because you guys heard our journey. I mean, Lost Mines kind of is very basic at that point. It does your regular old goblins and bugbears, and then my homebrew kind of played it safe. It only used the monster manual, so yeah, I'm glad you're liking the stuff I'm throwing at you. And yeah, I can't take credit. It's the people who are creating them. There are these weird things that I hope I can introduce all of them to you at some point. So, but yeah, that was session 4. Short and sweet, I think. I mean, without getting into too much detail, but we can hop into session 5 now. And finally, let's talk about session 5, which was fairly recent.
Yes.
And I don't have a prompt to it, so this one is a little less structured than the last couple sessions we were talking about. But I do remember what happened. The summary was pretty much you guys went to the port, which is called Port Umi in this city, this whole setting that we're in. And you discover Nephili again, that NPC that you kind of helped with the corpse flower a couple sessions ago. And she has a quest for you guys, which Genbu decides to kind of take the reins on that and is actually nervous and scared for Nephili's well-being. So he kind of offers you guys, the exterminators, I guess I can say at this point, to go help her do this quest.
Right. And wasn't there a little debate? Like we're like, no, we got to help the Godfather first.
There was, because it wasn't even the Godfather. You guys met another NPC who you didn't meet him. You met him a while back.
Bishop.
An NPC named Deacon
right.
Hero, and you asked for his help because there was only 3 of you that were playing this session. So yeah, we went from 7, normally 6 or 7, to 3, and you guys were like, maybe we should get a 4th person just in case. So you asked Deacon to help you, and you were like, we're going to go fight rats, Deacon. And then you guys went to Port Umi, and immediately you were like, no, just kidding. We're going to go help Nephili to this weird dungeon.
And then I had to convince the lads that, we had to convince Bishop that we'll pay you for that.
Yeah, basically. You had to, and it didn't take too. I mean, if I remember correctly, you gave him a couple rations, and then he ended up getting gold anyway after defeating this dungeon.
And he almost drowned.
So, a little... He did almost drown. Yeah, you both almost drowned. Yeah, so for those of you wondering, this dungeon is a Wizard of the Coast dungeon. It's a Tales of the Yawning Portal dungeon. It's not the whole dungeon, but it is the wave piece to the oh my goodness, if you can jog my memory, White Plume Mountain? Yep. White Plume Mountain? Yeah, that whole entire one-off journey. So this was the wave dungeon to that I essentially just, for reasons of when we were doing that one-off, I didn't want to make it super long, so I took that piece out and
you literally
recrafted it.
Magically stuck it to this new setting.
Yeah, because we're in a world of
which
magic,
is what
so
I love, by the way. Because if this was any other like story or any other medium, I'd be like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. But the fact that you did it, I'm like, that's so cool.
It works. Yeah. So for those who are like wondering the context, if you have Tales of the Yawning Portal or that adventure, you can follow along and kind of understand what we went through. So you guys went through that. You guys ran into the Kelpies, which was really fun to run. They charmed, I believe, you and Deacon.
That was awesome.
And just basically forced them to try to drown themselves. And so the other three, yeah, because Nefeli was there too. We had Genbu, Darien, and Nefeli trying to fight the Kelpies while you two were kind of
going under,
just sitting down. Yeah, just sitting underwater, just drowning yourself.
And the Kelpies,
which was really fun.
You really didn't describe them, or if you did, I apologize if I don't remember. But they weren't like sirens or anything. They weren't hot. They just charmed us.
They weren't hot.
they're just seaweed, man. That's all you said.
Yes, they were just seaweed. They were just plants. Yeah, no, I thought they were, because when you search up Kelpies, I guess in a different, like the Greek mythological version of it is they're kind of like these like watery horses, I guess.
I saw that.
Watery horses. They're not sea horses, but
like
they're
horses
actual
made
horses.
Of, like tangly.
Yeah, like or like mermaid horses or something, right? But I guess dungeon, and this one is a Wizard of the Coast creature too. It is like a sea. Yeah, it's just a sea anemone that looks like seaweed and it has the ability to charm and try to murder you.
Okay.
So, which it makes more sense when you like look into their attacks. I think they were grappling you, so they were kind of holding you back and basically keeping you underwater as much as they could, which was terrifying.
Well, first we had to break the charm.
Yep. So you guys kind of got rid of the charm. You killed them. You got through it. You ignored one of the rooms that was to the right, which I personally was okay with. I felt like for the sake of this whole entire campaign or this whole game, that was not super important. Like, you didn't miss anything is what I'm trying to say here. So they essentially beelined it straight to the
water dome.
What is it called? The water dome. I think there's a specific word. It's like the boiling bubble.
Yeah. That was it, because it was like hot water.
Right, and that was the treasure that Nefeli was talking about when she kind of enticed you, or rather, I guess Genbu felt bad for her, and you guys, that's what she was looking for. So she dashed in, you dashed in, Genbu dashed in, the other two stayed back. Oh, did you hesitate? I thought you. So who went? I thought you did go in.
I tested like the ground first. Like,
gotcha.
I think I rushed towards them, but then I was like, let me make sure this is safe.
Yeah, you were asking me. I remember you asking me that. I was like, what are we standing? Like, what is this? And I was like, it's just sand. And you're like, oh, so you guys are actually underwater. That was, I hope, an interesting dungeon. Not of my creation, but I remember I just reading it and looking at it. I'm like, this is cool. Like, this is neat.
And like I was telling you, man, when you described it, I was hydrophobic. I was claustrophobic.
That's right. You were actually freaking out.
Dude, I don't know.
Well, not freaking out, but you felt it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, because if you've ever been to like a shed aquarium and like you're just standing up against that glass, is there a part of you that goes, I think this might break?
Yeah, all the time.
And that's,
I mean, I don't think
and
about
that's
it.
what I was feeling, and I was feeling that if this breaks, I am going to just be in an endless sea of blue, and I'll die.
Right, yeah, which it did happen. You guys, well, first off, the giant crab popped out of the ground when Nefeli started to rake up the coins, and you guys fought the crab, but Darien ended up firing as many arrows that some missed, which I didn't take into account until after a little bit, and then I was like, wait, you've been firing arrows at this bubble. So you guys beat the crab. I thought of it at the exact same around the time you guys beat the crab, and I was like, the bubble starts to burst. So the water started pouring in. You guys dashed out of there, which was great.
I think Turtle Man tripped, if I recall. Like, he picked up
Turtle.
Somebody picked. Yeah, I think because with his strength, he picked up Nefeli and I think Deacon, but then he tripped.
Something like. You're right. Something like that happened for sure. It was crazy. That whole scene, because you guys had to dodge the water at first, but then when you re-entered the other corridors of the dungeon started to earthquake and it started collapsing in on itself, which made kind of forced you guys to do another kind of dex roll to get the hell out of there, which is crazy. At least I thought it was crazy. I hope it was as exciting as it was.
Dude, it was a chase, man.
From my perspective.
Glorious run.
Yeah, and you guys almost tripped a bit, but you made it out. And like as you guys jumped out, the corridor or the door, the entryway kind of just into itself. Like the way I described it was just and then just disappeared. So that was fun, dude. I like that one. So that was the first day or the day. I'm sorry, the
In
first
game.
kind of part in game. Yeah. I don't know if do you have anything to add to that?
I just wanted to say that one of the things that we found in that treasure was staff. Very important staff to my character.
Right. Yep.
Do you want to talk about that now, or you want?
Yeah, you can talk about that
Okay.
now. Because that doesn't. I don't remember when you looked into it, but you can talk about it. Go for it.
Okay, so with Falion, like I said, he's kind of a little bit of King Arthur. He's in the story of the Sea Champion. You have to seek the trident and be one with the sea. Apparently, that staff, and by the way, it went over my head, so I apologize. But that staff,
It's all good.
was part of this legendary trident, and yeah, it's crazy that I'm finally gonna get my Excalibur. I don't know when, but yeah, I have a part of it. And I had a vision
Right.
where the head is. And then can you describe the head again? Because it was really cool how you said it.
Yeah. So for those who want an actual image, you could just search up it's Wave. It's Wizards of the Coast Wave. It's the head of or the top part. So it's cut in half, or rather, it's only a staff right now. But it directed you, Falion, to find the other half of it, which was the fork part of the trident.
Right, and so it's not like cut in. It's not split in two. It's handle and pointy end. Right, it's not broken.
Yeah, handle and pointy.
Well, it is broken, but it's not like
it's technically broken. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm gonna try to remember. You know what? I'll just search it up. Let's just search it up so I can explain it properly. Wave D&D. I don't even know if it's online. If it is, then I own the book. So whoever's posting this online is not me. They don't have an image of it. Of course they don't. It's like the two sides are seahorses and the middle is like a shell and just a unicorn horn all the way through the shell as the third spire.
That's so cool.
I think that's what it is. So it's a very it seems very like Aquaman, like very neat, royal, made by gods kind of trident, which is
I know.
really cool.
I can't wait.
So
hold
it. So that was the first day, which was unexpected. That's always fun when I prepare for something and you guys were like, "Let's do this." So that happened. But the next day, you guys ended up completing the chitter, however you say that quest.
Yeah.
There's not much detail to go into this one. You essentially went back to, I essentially tied it back to the port that you and Darian essentially went to last session. Was it last?
Yes.
Yeah, session 4. Yeah, and basically you just had to go back there and fight him.
Right, and I posed the question, like, man, what would have happened if we did this first and then fought the rats in the sewer quest?
That's right. Yeah.
Because I'm curious how that could play different.
Right. Yeah. A lot. I don't know. So many paths. But yeah. So I mean that's pretty much all that happened. The thing I did want to ask you, because we spoke about this, you said it felt like a one-off rather than like part of the campaign, which makes sense for what you guys did. But I was just wondering why you felt that way. Was it the amount of people? Was it because of the quest? They didn't feel very main story.
Yeah, I think
overarching story.
I think because it was because that part of the rat episode was it was on the EAA board. So to me that was a side quest. Netflix thing. So it was a side quest, which to be honest really isn't if it leads to me getting the part of the trident. So that was a big score for me. But yeah, it was just a different dynamic. The party wasn't there. We didn't make any progress with the council.
Right. And there wasn't, I guess that's the other thing, there wasn't a lot of role play either.
No.
It was just we got a thing to do, let's go do it. And then you ran into another thing and you're like, sure, let's just do it. A small amount of role play, but yeah, I get you. It was just interesting when you said that.
Yeah, that's all I meant. And just Just killing some more rats. That's about it.
Rats. I feel like you guys are so sick of rats now.
Like I said, the Rat King was cool. Regular rats.
Over it. So yeah, man. I think we're caught up.
We are. That is 5 sessions for y'all.
Oh yeah, thank you for listening to those 5 sessions. That's
a lot. I hope we make sense, because in our heads, it's like we know the details, so we know what's what.
Right. So, which leads me. That's a perfect transition. It leads us into kind of, if you have any questions or if you're curious, like, what can you divulge into that a little bit more? Like, leave a comment. This will be, you're either watching this right now on YouTube or on SoundCloud, and if you're listening to it on either one, I think SoundCloud has, I think even you can even leave comments on like specific time slots on SoundCloud, so you can leave a comment there and be like, what are you referring to there? And if you're on YouTube, leave a comment there too. Either one works. Like Neil and I have been saying, we can talk about this stuff for hours.
Days, man.
You guys are getting just a little bit, but we are not afraid to explain our gaming experience because, A, we're having so much fun. If you're looking into D&D, hopefully this entices you to also have fun. You're hearing the good stuff, like the positive stuff. There's always some trouble that happens. There are horror stories, not personally from us, but I've read horror stories. But hopefully this positive spin kind of gets you to pick up the starter set, find a bunch of friends, and try D&D. Alright guys, that was a lot to talk about, a lot to take in. Moving forward, they could be as long, but it'll only go over like 1 or 2 sessions at a time, so won't be a lot of information to divulge on. But we're gonna go into a little segment that we're gonna call Random Tidbit of the Day from Neil.
Okay. Yo, man, we talk about kissing rings. Yo, you see that video of people trying to kiss the Pope's ring and he keeps pulling his hand back?
I did.
Yeah.
And if you guys have time, search that up. It's very strange, but I also get it. So leave in the comments kind of why you think he's pulling his hand away from people kissing his ring, which makes sense because the video I found said it was after 10 minutes.
No, that's disrespectful, though.
I mean, well, that's true, too. Overall, it's disrespectful, for sure.
No, I'm saying the Pope's disrespectful.
Oh, the Pope's disrespectful.
Yeah, because he should have said, no, don't kiss my ring. Or like what we were saying earlier, just take the friggin' ring off.
Just take it off. Yeah, well, it's interesting. Yeah, it's definitely, wow. Was that recent, by the way? Or
I don't know. I just saw it on break at work, and I thought it was funny.
I got you. Oh, my goodness. All right, well, let's wrap this podcast up. Thank you for listening, guys. There's a lot of information, a lot of stuff we spoke about here. If you're confused, leave a comment. I'll definitely explain from the DM seat like what that is to my best of ability without diving too much into it. Also, feel free to like tweet at me if you want to. My Twitter is @JaysVoicing. And hopefully if you leave questions, that'll become a segment later where we answer your questions on recorded. So, what's Valian's underwear color? What's Neil's underwear color?
Black.
Does Neil wear pants while we're playing?
Yes. Well, sometimes. I actually wear, because on Saturdays, I'm busy at work now. So, as soon as I get back, I'm still, dressed in, jeans. So I sit... Sorry, this might take a few minutes for explanation, but...
You're fine.
So I sit on my futon for our 6-hour session, Indian style, with jeans on, and then by the time I take them off at night, it's like they're damp with the sweat.
Oh God.
So when I'm not busy on Saturdays, I wear shorts.
Oh well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm So, well, I was gonna ask your last thoughts, but I guess we can just end on that.
No.
Wear shorts.
Yeah, wear shorts. Be comfortable.
Wear something comfy.
Yeah, don't freeball.
Be comfortable when you play Dungeons and Dragons. Well,
exactly.
I mean, you can freeball it.
I guess.
If you're among
if your
really
friends
close
are
friends.
okay. Yeah.
But anyway, thank you for listening to the Yoshi's Word. Remember, be kind and good to each other, and we'll see you guys later on the next podcast.
Thanks for listening.